Grand Rising Queen.
Grand Rising, how are you?
I'm here. I am here. I have asked you to interview with me today, and I so appreciate you taking out the time from your busy schedule because of Martin Luther King's birthday. He is a legend and a historical figure that we often look to when we think of politics. And most importantly, his very important role in the civil rights movement in 1955. As you know, he was born on January 15th in 1929. And so we want to take some time and investigate the phrase political power with him as our backdrop. And I could not talk about political power without interviewing the Desiree Timms of Dayton. So I ask you, and again, thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to meet with me and explore some questions as it relates to political power in Dayton, Ohio. So, how are you feeling today?
I'm feeling good, and I'm so humbled and honored to be here to share in the celebrations of the legacy of Martin Luther King and talking about political power and what that means for our community and what it has meant for me and my past endeavors and future endeavors. So
That's wonderful. And I can't wait to hear how his legacy has impacted your life and your journey. So let's jump right in. How do you feel MLK's work has impacted politics in Dayton?
I believe that the work he has done has been one of lighting the torch, preparing the baton so that it can be passed, so that the next generation and the next generation can continue to run with it as we continue to actualize our political power and exercise our political power, not just in Dayton,
Yeah.
but in this country. We've seen the power of politics and the power of Black political voices. When we talk about the Black Lives Matter movement, when we talk about criminal justice reform, when we talk about economic justice, making sure people have a fair wage, all of that work today, the messaging goes back to the work that Martin Luther King and those who worked in partnership with him, started.
That's real. That's real. Definitely, I could see that image of him like passing that baton and the Black Lives Matter movement. And as you said, those very critical kind of turning points where we've experienced a lot of protests and unrest at this period. And many people are remembering his boldness and his courage to stand up for, self advocacy and human rights. So when we talk about political power, because he had a lot to do with politics, when we talk about political power, what does that mean to you, Desiree Timms?
It means exercising the power that we have been born with, but also the power that we have as Americans. When people talk about the Martin Luther King, I Have a Dream speech, when we talk about the March on Washington, I think, unfortunately, latter generations and those who were there who have just forgotten have had a tendency to romanticize that time period without giving credit to the work that was done in the halls of Congress, in the White House, in the Department of Justice, as they advocated for and lobbied to pass civil rights legislation. As you know, it's not just about speeches. Exercising your political power is having the ability and the acknowledgement to do both and. You have to make sure you have people pushing for grassroots sort of energy in the streets. And you also have to make sure you have people sitting at the table who can leverage that power in the streets to make change happen. And I think what we have seen is people have romanticized the protesting and not necessarily the negotiations.
That's good. So a little off script, Desiree, but you've really made my brain kind of turn. My wheels are turning. Do you think, as a recent candidate, that our community, the Black community, is waking up to the necessity of voting and participating in a political process and not just seeing it as, something romantic to indulge in whimsically as it, may seem fit?
I think we still have work to do. The entire reason and purpose for me creating my Vote Don't Count with my cousin Yellow Pain was to raise awareness about the importance of voting. I think in our education system, there has also been a breakdown. But for some reason, people think that people died on the Edmund Pettus Bridge so that we could just vote because, it was something that we just wanted to do. Uh, Voting is the quintessential exercise of power in this country. And every time we reduce it to just an act or something to do, or a Facebook post or the sticker "I love voting," we miss the point and we devalue the lives that were lost, known and unknown, on that bridge, Black and white and Jewish and heterosexual and homosexual. All kinds of people stood together to make sure that equality was something that we could live into. And the only way to hold people in power accountable is through the votes. And the only way to make changes through the votes. And the only way to have your voices heard in this country is through the vote. And
Right.
so there has been a breakdown on the journey here to where we are now. So it's so important that we not only tell our history, not only that we share our history with our the youngins and the people coming behind us, but that we explain to them the importance and the why behind it. And I think the why has been missing, but for the what.
I love it. I love it. And so when it comes to voting, how do you think Stacey Abrams and the MLK have really influenced that process, that organizing process, especially in Dayton? Like, how can that show up? How can we use it here?
So a lot of people are familiar with Dr. King's request for civil disobedience, for making sure that we are nonviolent. And I think this generation now has a new appreciation for why it is so important to remain peaceful. Because whenever you go to destruction, it distracts from the movement and from the message.
Mm,
And what we have seen through that is following the 1/6/21 attacks on the Capitol is the juxtaposition uh,
yes,
between and against what they stood for on 1/6/21 and what the movement for Black Lives stood for all
yes,
throughout the last
yes,
couple years. And so explaining again that why, not just the what, but the why, peaceful nonviolence is so important. It also helps sort of provides that link it to organizing. And what we've seen Stacey do was show the world the power of organizing. But what I hope it showed our community and people here in Dayton is the power of voting. We saw single handedly how Black people and Black women showing up in Georgia changed the balance of power in the Senate
mm,
and decided the presidency. That's how much power there is in
yes,
voting. That's
yes,
how much power there is in organizing. And I hope that people really understand the why. And now that we have said power, now we can begin further negotiations in terms of what we want passed into law, what we need to feel
yes,
whole, what we need in order to make sure that they understand we're not going to show up unless you do X, and we will
yes,
continue to show up in order to get X. And so we have to show up. And I hope that the next generation of organizers and activists who may have felt deterred or discouraged by the Trump administration and what we've seen in the streets Black and brown men being killed at the hands of police. That discouragement, I hope, has turned to motivation after seeing what Stacey Abrams and other organizers in Georgia have done.
Well, Desiree, we really count on you to educate the community about the importance of organizing and political power and voting. You have gone off to school and done an exceptional job, may I add, as well as worked with the Obama administration in gaining and gleaning much political prowess when it comes to our power in our community. And we know that we have for many, many, many years in this country had a foot on our neck, so to speak. So we're counting on you to oxygenate us with the knowledge that we need in order to be able to show up and show out when it's time to vote, because I know that there is much more for Dayton to do with regards to voting. So on that note, if you were able to put 2 items onto the Black agenda, a reason for people to be activated. Many people don't know why I'm going to the polls. As you said, they do it for a sticker, a Facebook post. But if you were able to give them 2 reasons that the Black community needed to champion, what would be those 2 reasons that you place on that Black agenda?
So a friend of mine, Jeff Mims, would say those who vote the most have the most. And when we think about what's at stake and what's on the ballot, we realize our value in showing up. And so when you show up to vote, you should be thinking about your paycheck. So in December, 156,000 people lost their jobs. 156,000 of those people were all women. And then a few days ago, we learned 156,000 of those people were all Black women. And so we have to understand that economic justice is directly tied to political power.
Okay.
When we think about the minimum wage being raised to $15 an hour, well, that has to pass through Congress. When we think about criminal justice reform, well, that has to pass through Congress. And it's not enough to yell, scream, cry, and mourn in the streets, because they will allow you to do that the same way you allow a toddler to cry. And, you know, eventually they'll get tired and they'll go to sleep. We can't be that toddler. We have to be the adult.
Yeah, you might have a little king in you. I hear you preaching a little bit. So when it comes to hearing from Miss Desiree Timms, will we be hearing from you in any of the upcoming elections? And if so, what position?
So right now I am focused on my new role as president and CEO of Innovation Ohio, where I am working on advancing progressive policy throughout the state of Ohio. So I am still fighting. I will stay in the fight, and I will continue to be arm in arm with the people of this community. And should I decide to run again in the future, which I may, it's not off the table, you all will be the first to know.
We'll look forward to knowing that too. I so appreciate your time. Again, I know you have a very busy schedule, and so I am honored that you took the time to meet with me on behalf of the Dayton Africana Elders Council. And as a nation builder, I just want to say thank you again.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, and let's have a wonderful Martin Luther King celebration.
Thank you so much. So, educator, activist, nation builder, and the list goes on. Community asset, philosopher, most importantly, friend. Thank you for taking your time today to meet with me on behalf of the Dayton Africana Elders Council to talk about political power. I figured you were a good person to talk to because you teach sociology. and you know a lot about the political landscape here in Dayton. So we're doing this on behalf of MLK. As you know, tomorrow would mark his 92nd birthday, had he not have been cut down at such an early time in his life in 1968. Born in 1929, a civil rights activist and fighter for the community, much like you. So how do you feel MLK's work has impacted Dayton politics?
How's it impacted Dayton politics? You know, I think over the years, it's been a push and a drive for racial equality, and for you know, pushing for Black development. You know, like, I don't know, I never thought of that question before, but like I would almost say that like there's also been a misunderstanding of King when it comes to like color blindness, you know, and how we try to, you know, minimize differences to maintain sameness, this, that, another, instead of, you know, being able to see difference and acknowledge equality, you know, and so I think those are some of the challenges that that our community faces, right? Yeah. Along with you know, decades of disinvestment that is turning around, you know, but you know, we still need a lot of work, you know, because a lot of King's message was about building economic power, you know. Mm-hmm. So yeah, so you know, I think King's work has influenced us, but there's also been some misinterpreting of his work and watering down, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like the whole notion of, you know, we need to reclaim his vision. You know?
Yeah. I think Desiree talked about the civil disobedience, because people oftentimes think of King as being very non-confrontational and non-violent and all of these silent protests. But towards his latter years, he really began to speak up and get his voice politically. So let's talk about politics, because we know that a lot of our power is fueled by the economy and our place that we have in the economy as the Black community. But when you talk about political power, what does that mean to you? Like, how does that?
To me, political power is about self-determination. You know what I mean? The ability of a community to decide, you know, what it wants to see, what it wants to live in, right? And how we're leveraging our resources to make it happen. To me, that's all about political power, right? And I think we gain it through dialogue. I think we gain it through developing a collective vision. I think we gain it from seeing how like policies and structures are formed and how they're shaping our lives now, right? So like, it's not natural phenomenon, you know, so that the more that we see like man-made decisions and how they're impacting our lives, then, you know, that gives us the hope that, you know, we can change it around.
Yeah, I love that. I know that that's something that you say often, and it really resonates with me about how, you know, man created this system, and so man can recreate it. And we are man. We are human beings. We are the mankind that did it. So speaking of human beings that did something, MLK did a lot, whether it was the boycott against the sanitation department or the bus boycott. He was able to really leverage human resources in a way that made a difference. And now here recently, we've seen Stacey Abrams also do some phenomenal work around organizing. How can we use their tactics of organizing in the West Dayton area to exact political power?
I think the main one is Ubuntu, right? Knowing that I am because we are, right? And it's not going to be one group, one person, one organization that's going to be able to leverage the capacity that we have that's latent right now. You know, because we don't communicate, because we don't collaborate. You know, so like we shoot ourselves in the foot on that way. So I think it's more that we know that we co-create together, you know, what we can be as a community, that we can leverage every household, every person inside the household towards realizing our vision, you know, and that we don't have to all agree on every certain principle, you know what I mean? But if we can agree that, you know, we don't want what we got right now, you know, like, you know, as a starting point to come together, man, and leverage our power, because we're so much more powerful, you know, like when I'm looking at Georgia, you know, all I can see is a phoenix rising, you know, and I think like we have so much latent potential, you know, like now is our time to rise, you know what I mean, and show what we about for real, for real.
You dropped so many nuggets. So Ubuntu is an African philosophy.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so you really believe that collectively we can leverage our political power. Do you have any examples of that?
I got one example would be Gym City Market, right? Like,
Gym City Market? What is Gym City Market?
Gym City Market is a community-owned grocery store, getting ready to open up to provide, you know, fresh fruits and vegetables to the community, right? But we also got a community room, we got a teaching kitchen, and we got a health clinic, right? And so
in West Dayton,
like, right, in West Dayton, right?
What?
So it's like, so that's a space where we can build community and build power. We can build greater relationships, strengthen the relationship to the community, because I think if you're talking about building political power, it's by the strength of the relationships. It's not even about the numbers, you know what I mean? Like I would rather have 10 people that are like 10 Kenyas that are like gonna get it, you know what I mean, than 100 people that like, you know, like I turn around, all of a sudden they gone. You know what I mean? So it's like
that's real.
You know, the strength of the relationships is important in healing our wounds. You know what I mean? Like, and I really think some of the younger generation, like we're inheriting some stuff that, you know, you know, some must happen with the elders, you know, because at one point, you know, they moved, you know, our community is moving in more unison, and it's not now. So like something happened some kind of way to break down. And it's like, we can't just keep inheriting and sustaining that breakdown thing, you know, so on certain things, like when are we going to take our own accountability to like, yo, the community going to be what we create right now.
Yeah.
You know
well,
I
can name a few things that happened: mass incarceration, the war on drugs, cocaine infused into our communities. I can name a few: divestment, redlining. So we kind of know, we know how systemically there were things put into place to kind of cripple us. Especially like you said, it's about transgeneration, right?
Yeah.
So
but you know what? Like, and not to cut you off, and like,
you good.
I agree all these things, right? So like there was a system in power that was working against us, but we had a counterforce and a counterpower too, right? I mean, we had block captains, right? Like we had an organized community, and now there's no organization. You know, it's like I just got off you know, a call, you know, about 20 minutes ago, and someone was mentioned, they participated in Kwanzaa, and they mentioned that, like, you know, people were mentioning resources, but nobody knows how to access the resources that are available. You know, like our lack of organization in our community, our lack of knowing that, okay, if you got this problem, go see this person. You got this, go see this person. You know what I mean? We're not organized. You know what I mean? And so it's like our lack of organization, it keeps us out of our and I'm not going to blame others for that. Like we had the power to organize our community if we really want it. You know what I mean? For real.
I look at it kind of like, have you ever watched Ant Colony? How they operate? And then the minute something happens, whether it's a leaf that drops from a tree, but the minute that line is obstructed, the mission is lost. That when you're not any longer behind the person that's in front of you, when you're no longer behind them, when you look and all you see is the obstruction. And I think that it's time for West Dayton to look and see the obstruction and come up with an alternative route. And I think we've done that. I think we have comprised our alternative route. And in 2021, we're really in the proper position to be in front and behind the neighbor. Like, but it's about togetherness, right? Like, that's the critical piece. Those changes came about during King's time because of what happened on that bridge, because of what happened in that cafe, because of what happened on those buses. You know, those were changes because people were together.
Yeah, I agree. You know, it probably comes from having a shared identity.
Yes.
You know, like solidarity is a shared identity, you know what I mean? And we don't have the solidarity because we don't see Ubuntu, you know what I mean? I am because we are, right?
Yeah.
But you know what? You using your ant analogy, you know, like so ants are moving and someone's foot gets in the way. So like immediately, you know, there's obstruction, like skirt, what do we do? You know what I mean? But them ants don't turn around and go backwards. You know, they climbing over the over the shoe. You know what I mean? They're going all over the place trying to find alternate routes. And when they find that alternate route, they don't just keep moving forward and forget the people. You know what I mean? It's like, yo, I found it. You know what I mean? This is the route. You know what I mean? To provide more people. You know what I mean? So it's like, you know, we got some that are trailblazers. We got some that are pushing the boundaries, trying to find different routes. You know what I mean? But like, you know, build a watering hole. You know what I mean? You know, put some crumbs on the ground, you know what I mean? So that others can follow, you know what I mean? Like, you know, I think, you know, I like Dave, she talks about, you know, pulling up while we're climbing, you know what I mean? Some people, they just try to climb, you know what I mean? It's like, no, we need to pull up while we climb. We need to open doors for people, you know what I mean? It's like, look, if I step to the door, I'm bringing 2 or 3 at least with me. You know what I mean? And because I got to where I am, not because I pushed through doors, I mean, other people opened up doors for me. You know
That's
what I mean?
right.
Clay and Mr. Robert, a lot of people opened up doors for me. You know what I mean? So it's like, who am I not to continue that? You know what I mean? Who am I not to make it easier for the next generation? So what I do in 3 steps, they can do in 2 steps. And then they can do it so that the next generation does it in 1 step. You know what I mean? It's like some stuff that we're going through is because we're still trying to figure out the same things, because the ones who got the knowledge, you know, we ain't been, it's not being passed down. The doors ain't being opened. You know what I mean? Like we have mentoring happening, but we don't have mentoring happen on the level that it could be. You know what I mean? And so it's like, that's why, again, you know, I know we got all kind of forces against us, you know what I mean? But like no, I refuse to deny our power. To complete it right. You know what I mean?
So
it's a willingness.
If we could narrow the list down, we know the Black agenda is endless. But if you could narrow it down to 2 priorities, what 2 priorities would you place on that Black agenda list for West Dayton?
I would say 1 is building our ecosystem, meaning that increasing our connectivity as a community, building the heart of our community, that we can have the deeper conversations to leverage more of our capacity. And I would say housing. And the reason I say housing is because lack of sustainable, affordable housing has been shown to be one of the biggest indicators for intergenerational poverty. You know what I mean? If you're moving around a lot, you're being evicted a lot of times, this, that, and other, you get pushed into these sacrificial zones where, you know, nobody wants to live, and they put all the worst things to the community inside. You know, all those things impact and sustain poverty multi-generationally. You know, so I would say those would be the two issues, right? Because like that'll help stabilize the community, help us connect more. You know what I mean? And you know, once we build that network, then we can start, you know, building the solidarity economy. You know what I mean? Which to me is the key. How many times we flip the dollar before it leaves our community? You know, like how are we connecting with each other based upon our gifts and talents and monetizing it in a way that we're flipping the dollar and before it moves out. You know what I mean?
Yes,
So
give thanks.
yes.
I attended that Highlander session that you had sent out for
Yeah.
Solidarity Economy, and I was geeked when I left. Like, Gaviotas.
Yeah.
Have you studied them?
So what again?
Gaviotas.
Yeah.
I
Heavy.
think that we need to have those discussions about the solidarity economy from the aspect of what we have. Because oftentimes we talk about what we need and don't recognize what we have. And that's what asset-based community development is all about, right?
Exactly.
Like what we have some gems in the gem city. And
come on now.
Once we recognize those gems, then we start figuring out how do we shine them up and make them accessible for individuals not only in West Dayton, but across the country and across the seas around the world. How can we market ourselves so we're not just Gem City Market, but we're the West Dayton market? We are available and have assets to share with our community as we build. King has truly left us a legacy, and a lot of people are leaving their legacy by running for office. Do you have any intentions on running for office anytime?
Not in the least bit.
Not a little bit.
I do believe that we need to develop a candidates pipeline, you know, and I think that we need to be running candidates that are building the vision that the community wants for the community and are willing to step into office and to leverage that office towards you know, building the vision. But now I like being more behind the scenes in the community than actually running for office. But you know,
I see you playing the background, but you do it well. But we definitely need to think about the mayoral seat, the commissioner seats, and ensuring that we're living out the dream.
Yeah, now is definitely our time, right? And like I feel like as a city we're at a crossroads, you know, you know, if we want a vision rooted and grounded in the community, centered at the margins of like what the community truly needs and wants and is willing to work towards, right? Now's our chance to continue to build that vision and then put people in office that are also you know, looking to build that vision, right?
I agree. I agree.
So, yeah, now's a great opportunity.
I agree. Well, thank you so much, Amaha. I can't tell you how much I appreciate your time. I realize how valuable it is. So many people pulling at you in different directions, but you managed to stay balanced, and we appreciate you and really, really love you. So thank you.
To follow your example, you know, got much love for Swahili. So, you know, anytime Kenya calls, you know, I'm gonna rise to the occasion. You already know that.
Thank you so much. I'll see you soon.
All right, peace.
Peace. So, Mr. West, I have been requested by the Dayton Africana Elders Council to put together a day of recognition for Martin Luther King on political power. And immediately I thought, I cannot talk about political power in West Dayton without talking about Greg West. I mean, recently you were able to astonish family, friends, and community members by making a comeback of all comebacks. You had endorsements from unions, support from the community, and just exemplified political power. So I really wanted to bring you to the table to talk about MLK and his work. So
I
thank you
appreciate
so much for
I,
taking time.
I appreciate you thinking about me, Kenya, and you know, it's an honor and a privilege anytime I'm able to give back to my community in any sorts of way.
Thank you
Yeah.
so much. We appreciate you and your work. So, how do you feel? This is MLK's, would be his 92nd birthday tomorrow. And he was a great contributor to our communities around the country, if not around the world, because of his work during the civil rights movement from 1955 to 1968, before he was cut down at a very young age. How do you feel MLK's work has really impacted Dayton and the work we do here as far as politics is concerned?
Well, one thing, you know, I was looking at the set of questions you asked me, you know, that you sent to me to think about. Let me do something about this lighting too, real quick. I'm in my office and I just can't stand the way it's looking. I might not be able to do anything about it. Let me turn this computer a little bit. But one of the things I could really look at is how he impacted not just our community and everything, was the showing that the importance of organizing, you know, bringing everyone together. You know, like we've had plenty of organizers over the years, you know, even prior to MLK, you know, we had the Garvey Night movement and everything like that. But for some reason, he was able to impact on a mainstream mass force of really organizing and putting together. One of the things that I really appreciate how it all started and where he was moving back to it was the boycotts, where we were taking our dollars away from, you know, the oppressed. You know, like a lot of people don't know the reason why that bus boycott really, you know what I'm saying, got their attention and brought it down. It wasn't so much about what we were saying, it was that they started seeing their pockets being hit. You know, that the Montgomery County bus system was, you know, being really affected because, you know, our dollars make up a lot of power. And once we get that understood, we can take our power back. And at the end of his life, when he was shifting from so much of just working on stay in your place, little black boy, you know what I'm saying, civil rights, and you know, till he was starting, you know, the movement about the poor people's movement, and also boycotting big companies. You come in our communities, you take our money, but what are you really putting back? And he was starting, you know what I'm saying, waking the masses up again about the boycotts, about our financial freedom that we have. I mean, also the financial power we have.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I really appreciate what was showing us the power and organizing, pulling people together and boycotting, you know, and having a cut statement of what we're going to do. Because if you notice, and I'm going, you know, I can go on and on. One thing he did is he would stay on as for one object at a time, from the bus boycott to this to that. You know, even though they were tackling a lot of things, it wasn't like he was scattered and was all over the place. He showed the importance of, okay, let's knock this out first, be a collective force behind this, and then we'll move on to the next
I
task.
love that. Like, that's important, right? For us to really be
Right.
able to centralize energy in one specific area, especially when it comes to important times like election and campaigns. Like, it's critical that everyone gets on board with voter registration and polls, getting people to the polls. So, what does political power mean to you?
Political power means freedom to me. And why I mean that is like we spend some time on talking about the power of the polls, getting people to go out to vote. But one thing we need to educate more on are the reasons why we need to vote. We also need to explain to our community what positions are people. A lot of people don't really understand the democratic process that we supposedly live in. You know, we need to spend more time. You know, because the school systems aren't doing it. And you know what I'm saying? I'm talking about to the general masses. I'm talking about our people over in the Bass. I'm talking about our people that over in Lower Dayton View. I'm talking about our people, you know, in Townview. I'm talking about our people anywhere, you know what I'm saying? We need to spend more time explaining to them the democratic process and the importance of that stuff, man, that the power is really in the people so that we can take our power back, because that's the freedom that we really have.
Do you
Too many
think
times, you know, go ahead.
I was gonna just ask, do you think the Black community doesn't really have a grasp on what democracy means?
A lot of us don't. Well, we live democracy. We really do. Because see, that's, you know, and when we get to the, when we get back to the whole thing, democracy is nothing but an old a thing that was since, you know, beginning of time. You know what I'm saying? It's a concept that's come out of Africa. You know what I'm saying? You know, like what people don't realize is that, you know, America is a democracy, but we're also, you know, we're a capitalist socialist country. What I mean by that is, yes, capitalism is what, you know, thrives this economy or whatever, but we're also a socialist economy because, you know what I'm saying, we believe in, you know, free healthcare. I mean, not free healthcare. Wish we could get to that, but
Right.
free education, public schools, the roads, you know, all of that. We tax each other. We're taxed so that we can have these things.
Right.
And that is nothing but a concept of, you know, the old concept of anyway from before Kemet, even back in the Nubian, you know what I'm saying, the old African proverb, what does it say? It takes a village to raise a child. That's our old concept, you know what I'm saying? It's not that we're looking for anything for free, but it does take, you know, a collective group to make these things happen.
I
And
agree.
if you look at it in our households, the democratic process is really what we live by. When we did have households before they were broken up by, you know, all this stuff that we've been through.
I
You know what I'm
know.
saying?
That's a whole nother story, right?
Right.
So Greg, if you were to really use the gifts and talents and skills and techniques and tactics of an MLK, or just recently we have Stacey Abrams. Their organizing was exceptional, and that's how they
Right.
were able to exact change. How could you take from their playbook and implement a tactic or two in West Dayton to exact change and create political power?
We're going to talk about more of the recent Stacey Abrams. One of the things that I appreciate what Stacey did and kept doing and still doing is she didn't forget about the segment of people. She went back into the neighborhoods. She went back into these people that we, you know what I'm saying, a lot of times we cast to the sides. You know what I'm saying? If you look at it, she went back to some of these people, the thugs in the hoods and stuff like that. Um, I don't want to go far off topic, but it also feeds into this. We're the only community that shunned a criminal element instead of incorporating them as we were nation building. Because if you look at the Italian Americans, and shun their mafiosos, you know what I'm saying? A lot of businesses got funded and started from them. You know what I'm saying? That are still up and running now. A lot of white supremacy was built on, you know, they never shunned them. They understood that they were people too, and they embraced them. And hopefully that they were, you know what I'm saying, you know, do I endorse what they're doing? No. But we're the only community who did that. And Stacey went back into those communities, you know what I'm saying? And she touched those people and let them know that your power is in the vote. And this is why she didn't just go to, you know, the middle class Black communities and
Wow.
organize that. She didn't just go back to the upper class, you know what I'm saying, the established Black community. She went to some of the that our politicians are afraid to go back to, those unsafe areas, but that's where the power is really at.
That's deep.
The
That's deep.
reason, yeah, and go
You've
ahead.
made an excellent point, Greg. Like, I'm just processing what it is that you're saying and how powerful it is. And what it makes me think about is when I hear white politicians make statements about the recent act of insurrection in the White House that we had at the Capitol, exacted at the Capitol, but came from the White House. And I hear them saying it's about economic power. Like, if we, the Black community, the attempt was to discount our votes, right? But if we would recognize our power, and then thinking about Amaha, who I interviewed earlier today, talked about the collective mentality. But most importantly, what I think about when you speak on kind of like the separation of duties, like if you can take the duties, it's not about the people need to be collective, but they're talking about Biden and the new administration when they come in and what they need to be focused on, and making the critical point that it's not Biden's responsibility. You following me? It's not his responsibility to worry about enacting any type of criminal lawsuit against Trump. Let the judicial department handle that. And as organizers, if we get out there and we connect to all the people, the drug dealer, oops, I said it, the prostitute, the gangbanger, if we connect to all of the people and focus on organizing, we're not worried about the jobs of the police. The police do their job. We need to do our job, and our job is organizing. I love your reference to the Italian family and how they operate in those communities, because no one has the problems that the Black community has. And so we really, and it looks like you're onto something, we really need to identify what our issues are so we can start thinking about our agenda. And I'm gonna ask you a question, but I want you to be able to make your point first.
No, what I was just saying, like what you were saying, nobody knows the problems like what we go through except for us, and that's a true, that statement cannot be more truer. And so, you know, well, us knowing our problems. Hold on, let me silence my phone. I thought it was silent. Sorry about that.
That's all right.
Us knowing our problems, we're the only ones who know our solutions. And instead of us keep looking for to solve our problem, yes, we do need government leaders. I'm not going to say that. And we need government leaders that look like us, who come from out of us, who've been educated by us, not just by the curriculum that we're given when we go away to college and stuff like that. Because if we get down to the thing, if we get down to the basis of it, when we go away, we are still being educated in the white supremacist system, and we're learning how to, you know, support that more. But, you know, who better than somebody who's been from where we are, who might have the mindset that they teach you but still don't forget your basis and where you come from.
I agree.
Those are the type of leaders that we
real
need.
Leaders.
Those are the type of, right.
I always say the best pastor is the pastor that's been through something. Give me a pastor that was on the streets and then got his life together. But that's a whole nother topic. But it does lead me to this. If you can narrow it down to two prioritized Black agenda items, what does West Dayton, the community, need more than anything? In the 50s, we needed king. We needed a king. We needed a Martin Luther King, because civil rights was a major issue. What do you think our two major issues are that we should be exacting our political power and focusing on now?
One would be reform for our community, not waiting on the government to come in and, you know, and fix our problems. Teaching our community the importance of us pooling our money together. Teaching our community the importance of, you know, we are our community. You know, the healing starts with what we do. The economic development, also the financial literacy and all of that stuff is number one priority, because, you know, no political movement can move without having the resources, the financial resources to your organizations. You know what I'm saying? We need to keep on organizing like we have, but, you know, the one thing that I understand is, like, you know, living in the state that we have, where we always talk about the crab in the bucket syndrome, right? And this is where I'm going with this, is the paradigm shift is what, you know, the organizations and the organizers need to do to help our community heal, is, you know what I'm saying, and get paradigm shift. The reasons why when we talk about the crab in the bucket barrel thing, syndrome and everything, crabs in a barrel are not living in their natural state. That's why they're living in and you know what I'm saying? When they're in that bucket, they're not in their natural state. That's why they live in such a chaotic thing where they don't understand, you know, they're not doing. If you watch how crabs feed, and I had to do some research on this, I heard somebody talk about this, and I said this can't be true. Let me find out.
Come on,
When
teach.
crabs are when crabs are in their natural state and they're in the water, whether it be backwards water, whether it be ocean water, wherever, the way that they feed is they stack on top of each other, and then the crab at the top that gets enough food, once it's full, it'll go and buries itself underneath the sand to push the pile back up, and then the next one. That's how they feed in the natural, when they're in a
Mm,
natural state, when they're in their colonial, when they're in their natural state. When
habitat.
you take them out of their natural state and you put them in a bucket, they are going to be chaotic. That's the same thing with our community.
Mm,
We are living in chaos because we're
yeah.
living in a society that was not meant for us, and we're still trying to find a assimilate in it. Because see, like, we are nurturing people by nature. We're
Yes.
spirit filled, you know what I'm saying? And
Mm,
I mean, if you notice, the Europeans come to us to learn spirituality, but that
mm.
comes to us naturally. So when you take us out of our natural state of learning how to, be nurturers and compassionate and take care of community, and you thrust us into the, this stuff, it's going to be chaotic. Where you trying to teach us that, take care, forget everybody else, is all about me. You know what I'm
Yes.
saying? And that's why I say that those are the two things: is the financial, education. Also, organizations need to keep working on more of teaching us that we need to
Healing.
heal
Yeah.
from the trauma.
That's
Because see,
good.
like, we've never, in the Black community, think about this, we've never had a chance to heal from the first time that we were put on this continent. I'm not
I'm with
talking
you.
about when we came here as free people. I'm talking about when we were stolen and brought over here in the
I'm with you.
1600s and all of that.
Transatlantic. Yes,
Right,
slave.
right, right. We've never had a chance to heal. When they when they locked up the Japanese in the internment camps, and they, and they free and let them go, they compensated them for one, and they gave them a way to process what they needed to go through. We had that. We've gone straight from slavery straight into, Reconstruction, where they
Jim
stole
Crow.
that from us. So now you taking the trauma that we've gone through from, being stole into slavery. Now you passing that trauma down to the Jim Crow, to the Reconstruction, to the Jim Crow, from the Jim Crow to the civil rights, from the civil rights to our generation, the crack generation. Now we passing down all that trauma that
Police brutality.
right,
Yeah. But
right.
listen, Greg,
We taking all that,
I am absolutely. I remember I was impressed by you when you were coming to my Bay meetings, Black Action Everywhere. I was impressed by
right,
what you had to say. And sometimes time passes and you like, oh, something about him just impressed me. I need to talk to him some more. And there were other people that came, and I only had 5 seats. You are actually one of the only ones, one of the only two people that I really had in my spirit to bring. And now you drop so much knowledge on me. I see why. But that knowledge needs to keep dropping in our community, because one of our major deficits is education. We don't know what we don't know.
right.
And so we need to learn more. So when is the next time I'm going to get your voice amplified on a political stage? You have any ambitions for running in the future?
Yes, I do, Kenya. Some people asked me what's going on with the city commission and the mayor's mayoral race right now, what I
Yes.
considered. But my goal was, after my last run, was to sit out a cycle anyway, so I could concentrate on the NPO that I started, nonprofit organization, Felons with a Future, where we're helping disenfranchised and also restore citizens come home and work on our thinking while we teach them how to become business owners. So my plan was to sit out 2 years anyway, to make sure that I could give the energy I needed to do that. Well, as it went, I got some phone calls last week, and I considered it, but one of the people I wanted to talk to before I made my decision was our former mayor, who's still my mayor, Ryan McLean. I wanted to
You
talk
still
to
my
her
mayor
about,
too.
right. I wanted to talk to her about, what her thoughts were about it, you know what I'm saying, about me possibly running for commission. When she told me that you know, considering going back, you know, running for mayor herself, I said, oh, that answered my question right there. I will sit out and I will keep working with, I will help, I will rather help you and do whatever I need to do to
Okay.
help you. Because we
Okay.
need somebody, you know, we need somebody with some true leadership who knows how to, you know, govern, and also somebody with our mindset, you know, because
I
see, like
agree.
one thing I believe, like, okay, it's been proven you cannot win a major election in this country. I'm not just talking about community. I'm talking about in this country with African American vote. So if they keep on wanting our votes and everything, we need, and you know, this is going somewhere else, but it's all tied in. Everything about America is built on our culture anyway.
I agree.
I don't care what nobody,
Yeah.
you know. So to turn around our city and our community, I would rather endorse somebody who knows us as a community, you know.
I
So
like it.
when she said that she was considering, you know, when she said that she was considering running, I said, okay, that will help me, you know, help me make my decision, and made my decision. I'm not going to run, but in the next, you know, probably in the next commission race in 2 years, you possibly will see me out there. If not, I'm back, you know, in 4 years after, you know, that county commission, because we still need somebody on the county level that looks like us, who's going to
Definitely do.
represent us, who's going to bring our interest, who's going to bring our interest to there. Because, you know, like
We definitely
one
do.
thing about the politician, right? One thing about the politician, and that's why I don't consider myself a politician. I consider myself a citizen who's running for a political seat.
Okay.
I understand that I'm still, if I'm ever elected, I'm still here to serve the community, the people. One thing about the politician that I've learned from both sides of the fence is that, you know, we will say, you know, we will vote, and then we don't hear from them no more.
Yeah.
We as a people need to stop giving our votes to them without telling them what we
Agree.
need in return,
I
and not
agree.
only just telling them, but holding their feet to the fire. So, like
Yeah.
one of the events that we have coming up on the 27th of this month is on Facebook. I'll send her if you can get it out. Let's get the information out. We're starting in partnership with the Dayton Fellowship Club, the
Okay.
Wesley Center, my program, Fellows with a Future, and also the new thing that I just started, the Black Community Blackboard. We are doing a quarterly forum where we'll be streaming live on Facebook Live, and we're inviting our community leaders, our elected officials, not our organizers, because some of the organizers will be the people on the panel, you know, and just regular citizens that will be on a panel on a Zoom call with them. But, you know, the community will be able to stream live on Zoom and put their questions in the chat for the community. Because it's
Okay.
time, you know, it's time for us, you know, as a community. Okay, you got to. Now we're going to keep you accountable.
I agree. I
We
love
have
it, Greg. And I'm
right.
looking forward to really highlighting a lot of your organizations. The group that I've been working with, Unified Power, we actually wanted to have an element where we're helping citizens that are re-entering, because mass incarceration has really impacted a lot of lives in our community. When you talk about the ones
Right.
who have been just systematically disenfranchised and divested from, and just that ever kind of metaphorical knee in the neck, those are the individuals that need support and need to be eating. Those are the ones we need to dig in the sand and push up. So I'm going to get with you, brother. Again, I appreciate your time and your efforts in the community. And on behalf of the Dayton Africana Elders Council, as an current candidate for inductee as a nation builder, I would just like to say thank you.
Thank you, Kenya. And I thank you again for taking this time and thinking about me.
You're welcome. And we'll be in touch. Let's talk soon.
Okay, we will, because you already know I'm going to have you on my on our channel, our YouTube channel, that Black Community.
I'm there.
Blackboard, and I'll be sending you the invite. Thank you
I'm
again,
there.
Kenya.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you.